Welcome to B-Dubs DM21. I'm B-Dubs and this is a New World build concepts video. The build you are about to see is purely conceptual and theory crafted based on information gathered from the closed and open betas. These have not been tested and all skills, passives, and other details are subject to change as we head into launch. This build guide is purely to convey the concept of the extremely robust custom class system New World introduces, and to hopefully provide you some direction when you make the journey to Aeternum. Today we build the Archmage, a caster DPS for people who want to play Black Mage in Aeternum. Built for PvP, originally conceptualized by Tanantha, my wife, who is absolutely brilliant and beautiful in every way. Okay guys, I get it. Final Fantasy XIV, very popular. We want to bring Final Fantasy XIV to New World because you just like to play Black Mage. Well, this Archmage build is for you. It features the Fire Staff and the Ice Gauntlet, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this. We have two weapons, again, the Fire Staff and the Ice Gauntlet. We're going to start our rotation, the build concept for this PvP as well as PvE build. We're going to start this build concept with the Fire Staff. We're going to break down our rotations from here. In short, this is a fantastic weapon to use. The Fire Staff is basically, it boasts the biggest damage in the game. You will do a ton of damage with this. We are going to be able to put together a build that will not only do phenomenal damage at range, but also the biggest damage numbers you'll see in the game in melee range as well. We have a couple tools here that will help us get in and out so we can do our big damage and do a lot of chip damage along with it. And the dots on this build are insane. We've talked about big dots already and how powerful damage over time is in this game. The dots in this game hurt, and no dot hurts more than the Fire Staff burn, and we're going to talk about that today. So we're going to start our rotation off by actually using light and heavy attacks from the staff. Then when we feel good and confident that we can make a gap close, we're going to begin our full rotation with a burnout. We're going to burn out to the target, and then we're going to use Incinerate, the single most damaging ability in the game. There is no ability that does more damage than Incinerate. Incinerate is a must-have for any Fire Staff user. You cannot go without this. If you hit anyone in PvP or a monster with this, you will destroy them. It's an AoE, it's a 3-meter radius around you, so it's not too generous on the AoE, but it is there. And remember, this will have about a 1-second cast time, and any ability that does this much damage, hey guys, that's fair. You gotta give them a 1 second time to get out of it. I don't blame them for putting it in there, okay? I don't. But it's really helpful. And then when you do this, you're going to apply a seriously disgusting burn that will tick away their damage into oblivion, okay? Then after that, we get Fireball. We're going to use the Fireball for zoning and to put persistent burns on our enemies. Fireball is very strong in PvE. It is very strong in PvP. It's a great way to deny access to ramps around the forts, and a very good way to cut off people when you just need to get out, or you can trap them and get them in that nice, thick burn. Very good ability. Now, we're going to do most of our damage, in fact, all of our damage, in fire mode, just like in Final Fantasy XIV, actually. With the help of our passive Reheat, whenever we are not activating a Fire Staff ability after 6 seconds, our mana regeneration will increase by 400%. So what does this mean? Well, it means we go to our Ice Gauntlet. Now, in Ice mode, we're not too concerned about doing damage in this mode, though we have our ability to damage. Our ability to damage, to do damage in this mode, is from the Ice Storm. This Ice Storm is going to cost you 25 mana, so if you switch to your Ice Gauntlet, make sure you have about 35 to 40 mana at your disposal. You're going to put down the Ice Storm. Important to note that after every critical hit on a target, you're going to recover 15 mana. Make sure you hit the head, okay? we get this passive called Ultimate Chill. Ice abilities chill targets, increasing ice damage by 35% for 3 seconds. This includes from your light and heavy attacks. This is actually a significant source of damage. With 3 consecutive light attacks, we're actually going to gain back 15 mana. So while we're doing this considerable amount of damage, we're actually going to be regenerating our mana. In PvP, or in scenarios where you're getting overwhelmed by monsters, okay, you can use Ice Shower, which will then root them and then provide a slow. This is very helpful for escapes. And then finally, if you're just run out of mana because you're using both weapons or using magic here, all right, they're both using mana, you can always Entomb. Entomb will protect you. It's basically a version of invulnerability. You cannot take any damage until they destroy your entombment, okay, your ice. It's very cool. And people can hit you and hit you and hit you all day long, but you're not going to take a shred of damage. But while you are entombed, you are actually regenerating tons and tons of mana. And this is the reason why I call this a sort of like a Black Mage build. For fear of copyright, I didn't want to call it the Black Mage build. No, I'm kidding. No one would copyright strike me for that. But it's the Archmage. We're not playing Final Fantasy. We're playing New World. But basically, the concept is the same. When in fire, you burn your mana to do the big damage. When in ice, you get your mana back. You run into a pinch, just entomb. Get your mana back, blow up the entomb, and then go back to your fire staff and back to that big damage. This is a powerhouse of a build, both in PvP and in PvE. It will serve you in both places incredibly well. You will lay out fire and ice, and you will do significant, copious amounts of damage. You will be very pleased with the results. Here's how we get there, and we'll start with the Fire Staff. Fire Staff is awesome for a number of reasons, but we're actually going to take a look at the passives down the Pyromancer tree first. The first thing we probably need to take a look at is Watch It Burn. Your light attacks will cause the enemy to catch fire, dealing 3% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. Now my understanding is that this stacks, and you can get more and more burn with every attack. The next thing we get is Kindle. Burning lasts 20% longer. Now this is burning from all sources, and every single source of a burn stacks separately. So you can stack on multiple burns. The more burns you stack, the more damage over time you're ticking on the target, and the faster they die. You really, really, really want to get as much damage over time out there as you can, because that adds up, and it adds up very quickly, and we're letting it last for a very long time. Okay? The next thing we need to talk about is combat speed. When you activate a Fire Staff ability, you gain 10% haste. This is going to be very helpful when we get to discussions about our skills. So let's first talk about burnout. Now let's get into depth about the skills, okay? Dash through the target, dealing 129% weapon damage on hit. Passing through the target will catch the target on fire, applying a burn that deals 10% weapon damage each second for 8 seconds. Okay, that's 80% weapon damage. So you're doing about 210, a little less than that, 209 weapon damage throughout the duration of this burn. Of course, naturally, we increase the duration of that to be 20% longer, so you get the idea. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit more damage than that, and it's going to tick up higher. Next up, Fire Staff cooldowns are reduced 5% for each foe hit by burnout. Very handy. Now, we are using this as our opener, so we don't expect or anticipate any of our cooldowns to be decreased that much. And then heat up, burnout goes 50% further. This is very good. This is great for getting in, great for getting out. It's a great engage and a great disengage. It's an awesome skill for both cases if you need it. It does big damage, and you can slightly turn in the middle of your burnout, something that you do not get with a flesh from the rapier. So do bear that in mind. You can turn, albeit slightly, with burnout. Really cool. Okay? The next skill, Incinerate. This is the big mamma jamma. This thing hurts. This thing will kill people. This thing is nasty. Let's read the full description. Cause a fiery explosion, dealing 130% weapon damage and knocking back all enemies 3 meters. This is a knockback too. It catches enemies on fire, dealing 3% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. Burn doesn't sound all that impressive at first, right? 3% weapon damage each second. Okay, so that's what, 18% weapon damage, right? Okay, cool. Each hit of the Incinerate causes an additional stack of burning. So now my Incinerate, just one hit, will give 2 stacks of burning. So now we're doing 6% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. Oh, don't worry, it gets better. We're going to restore 20% of the damage dealt by Incinerate. So now we're getting healed. Oh, nice. Very nice. And then Flame Out. Incinerate hits twice. Oh. So Incinerate, which is already a 130% weapon damage skill, is now going to do 260% damage with the 2 hits. It's now going to apply 4 stacks of the burn. The 4 stacks of the burn will add up to 16% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. Hold on. Sometimes you just need a calculator, because look, my math brain does not work. We've been over this a couple times. All right, I'm not the smartest guy. Okay, I'm just not. Cool. All right. So we have 4 stacks, right? So it's 16, right? And we're going to times that by 6. Yeah, 96. But here's the thing. Our burning lasts 20% longer. So we're going to get about another 100% weapon damage over 6 seconds. Now 6 seconds is a very short time. This dot will happen very quickly. Their damage after that big hit, it's very deceptive because of how fast this gets put out there, okay? It's very deceptive. They're going to take another 100% weapon damage roughly after the 260 they were already exposed to. Now remember, this is of your weapon damage. Fire staffs boast the highest weapon damage in the game, period. Okay? This is a very big hit. So now we're getting about another 100% on top of that. So now this is a 360% weapon damage skill. This is really good. This is really good. If you hit this thing, dude, the damage you have wrought is amazing, and this thing is wild. Okay? At the small cost of 22 mana, all this damage can be yours, and it's great. I think this thing is awesome. This is definitely something you want to use. Does it require you to get in melee range? Yes, it does. Is that okay? Yeah, it's okay. You're in light armor, dude. Just dodge away. Who cares? Next up, we have the Fireball. Yeah, this thing's great. Listen to this. Fire off a heavy fireball that deals 140% weapon damage on impact and leaves a 3 meter burning field that lasts 6 seconds. The burning field dealing 10% weapon damage each second. Fireball's burning field persists for 9 seconds. You might be wondering, why didn't we take catch? Well, direct hits with the fireball will give you 10% of your max mana and reduces your fire staff cooldowns by 7%. Now here's the thing. We have our mana sustain strategy. We have reheat, and we are going to have the Ice Gauntlet, which we have our way of getting mana back. I didn't feel like it was necessary to use the catch in order to regain our mana because we have another mana strategy already in mind, and there were some passives that we really needed for this build to make it even better. We're getting ready to talk about those here in a second. So this ability, Fireball, is used for zoning. It's not really part of your rotation. When do you use this? Well, in PvE encounters, you can pretty much use it anytime you want, okay? You could probably fire off a Fireball and then do a burnout into an Incinerate, disengage, switch to Ice Gauntlet, and then have a good time. That's a pretty good PvE setup. In PvP, this thing's dot is pretty good. You really want the dot to hit. Now, would the direct impact be great? Yeah, the direct impact would be phenomenal. But in short, what you're trying to do is you're trying to cut people off from chasing, you're trying to zone, you're trying to create areas where players will not want to run through, to create an obstacle. This is very helpful for splitting up large groups. You can easily 1v3 if the 3 you're fighting are split up, losing track of you, not communicating. This is pretty common in PvP for New World. You will run into a lot of these large groups where the players are kind of lost. They don't know how to follow. You get someone who's super aggressive, who overextends, and you catch them in a trap. One way you can help do this is by cutting off a zone after your one player got through. Now, the Ice Gauntlet will give you other ways of doing this as well, but this is basically used for zoning. It's very helpful. And if you need to use it directly on a player, it's very hurtful as well. It does lots of damage. So this is a very good ability, and we need to use this. Now, let's get into the passives on the Fire Staff. Prophet of a Fire God. While holding a Fire Staff, your critical strike damage is increased by 20%. Oh, nice. Get those headshots, guys. That's a big percentage increase. It's huge. Your abilities gain an extra 15 chance to critically strike. We need these. Spellslinger and Prophet of a Fire God. Very important so we can get the crit on the Incinerate. If we crit the Incinerate, dude, the damage is unspeakable. It is disgusting. Anything we can do to increase our crit rate for our abilities, we need to take. This is way too good. Next up, Clear Mind. While above 50% mana, you gain 10% in power. Oh, well, here's the good news. We're regenerating our mana on the Ice Gauntlet, so we're going to want this. This is going to be very good. And make sure when you use Incinerate, you use it with over 50% mana, okay? Be over 50% mana. And then on the next one, heavy attacks reduce the Fire Staff cooldowns by 10% on hit. Yeah, if you want your cooldowns back, just shoot off a couple heavy attacks, call it a day. So you can get your cooldowns back much faster if you need it. All right? So if you're rotating through to your Ice Gauntlet, you got your mana back, switch back to your Fire Staff, and maybe some of your cooldowns aren't up, no big deal. Fire off a couple heavy attacks, and now you can use your cooldowns. You can fire out your Fireball, Gap Close, Incinerate, back to Ice Gauntlet. Get your mana back. Good stuff. So since most of our damage is coming from the Fire Staff, the Ice Gauntlet is going to give us some zoning, some control, and some defense. It's also going to give us the ability to get our mana back, okay? This is not meant for our damage. This is meant to do damage while getting mana back. Very big difference. Can we do good damage with the Ice Gauntlet? Yes, you can. Will it be as much damage as the Fire Staff? No, it's not. This is more of a controller type weapon. In fact, heavy armored individuals can use the Ice Gauntlet to great effect in terms of CC and increasing the duration of the slows and roots and all sorts of stuff. This is actually a really good weapon. It's also a really good weapon for healing, but we'll get into that later. But here's the deal. We have ourselves the Ice Gauntlet. We're going to break down these skills. When you switch over to your Ice Gauntlet, the first thing you'll probably want to do in a PvE situation is throw down that Ice Storm. Just throw down that Ice Storm and start chucking away at the bad guys who are within. And if you want to have a little bit of extra fun, you can use the Heavy Freeze passive, and you will use a heavy attack, which will then freeze these enemies for 1 second. Very nice. But remember, we're doing light attacks to get our mana back, okay? 3 consecutive light attacks gives us our mana back. Within the storm, though, if you get the heavy attack, you can freeze them in there, and then you do your light attacks in order to increase your damage and get your mana back. You're going to get 35% more damage, okay? Ice abilities chill targets, increasing ice damage by 35%. Okay, this is good. You know, the storm's going to be going off pretty good. Yeah, you get the idea. This gives you a 35% damage boost to those light attacks while you get your mana back. Really good. That's how we get our damage. When the storm goes away and the enemies are no longer chilled and you need mana, then we get to the Entombed. Entombed is something that you can use to protect yourself in a pinch. It's basically an invulnerability, and you can explode it. Player can entomb themselves in an ice to become invulnerable and greatly increase mana regeneration. The Ice Tomb has a lifetime of 10 seconds and can be destroyed. Now, it takes a long time to destroy this thing. This thing is just tanky. It's a lot of HP, okay? Players have 2 options to cancel the Entomb. They can exit by pressing right mouse button, or you can break out of the ice. Now, breaking out of the ice costs mana, okay? You can break out of the ice by pressing the left mouse button. Now, what this does is it causes a damaging knockback for about 20 mana, okay? This is going to cost you 20 mana to get out of. Now, our goal is to make mana in here, not lose it. 20 mana is a lot of mana. All right. So use this as an explosion very carefully. If you need it because players are waiting for you to get out, and for whatever reason they decided to stand next to your entomb, like you're not going to shatter it, and they're being silly. You can go ahead and left mouse click, detonate it, and then you're going to dodge out immediately, switch to fire staff, and then burn out back towards them and incinerate. It's a great trap if they actually stick to you, because what happens is when you break out, you knock them back. You dodge back, they look towards you, then you burn out through them and incinerate, and they're dead. All right? Punish them for being silly. Please. Please, please, please punish these players for being silly. That's what you do, okay? But otherwise, if you're in PvE and nothing's near you, just right-click, exit the entombed, have a good day. That's how this works. The next thing, Ice Shower. This is something that we use sparingly in PvE. Very rarely should you need to use this in PvE unless you're solo. And even when you're solo, really, why are we worried about rooting people with Ice Shower? Ice Shower is pretty much reserved for PvP. And we wanted to PvP on this build, and we're going to have fun PvPing on this build. And one of the things that we can do to set up Incinerate traps is Ice Shower. Ice Shower, Ice Storm, slow them up, root them down, switch to Fire Staff, Incinerate. It opens up opportunities for you to get that big damage off, because that's the killing blow. Incinerate will kill these guys. That's good. We want that, right? So the Ice Shower is purely used for PvP purposes. Now, when we have our initial Ice Shower, basically what it is, we create a summon. We summon a shower of ice that creates a frosted area approximately 1 meter by 5 meters. Now, I heard people go, "Ew, only 1 meter?" No, it's 1 meter by 5 meters. It's creating a line. Okay, that is a very good, big, thick, solid line. Okay. Enemies that enter the Ice Shower will be stricken with a powerful Frostbite. Frostbite will root the target for 1 second. It blocks sprinting and dodging. They cannot even dodge out of this. It slows speed by 50% and will remain on the target for 3 seconds after exiting the Ice Shower. So in a PvP situation, you want to trap these guys in the Ice Shower, drop a storm on them for an additional slow, switch to your Fire Staff. If you need to burn out to them, burn out to them, and then incinerate. If you don't need to burn out to them, dodge in, incinerate. They can't get out, you got them. It's a great trap, use it. And that's essentially how we play this build. Those are the skills. Let's go into the passives. We'll start with Cold Reach. We'll increase the damage of light and heavy attacks by 15% for targets further than 15 meters away. If you can help it when you're getting your mana back, yeah, you're going to want some distance here. You don't have a lot of melee. You don't have any, really. Your only short range ability is Ice Shower. And if you're on the back foot because you're low on mana, yeah, you should want some distance. And we'll get 15% more damage for it, so that's nice. We're going to recover 15 mana after triggering a critical hit on a target. Very handy. We're here to get mana back, not lose it. Increase critical damage of ice spells by 15% when at full stamina. Yeah, you're going to be at full stamina a lot, particularly in PvE. So this will just increase your PvE damage quite a bit. When you're trying to get your mana back, you got the Ice Storm out there, you're doing your light attacks, right? And you're trying to get your mana back up, you're going to be doing a good chunk of damage. Very good. Hit with 3 consecutive light attacks to grant player 15 mana. I already talked about this one. Very good. We want it. Increase critical chance of hitting an enemy in a frosted area or with Frostbite by 20%. So that's good. Critical chance. Critical chances do what for us? That's right. Give us mana back. We want this. This is good. We need critical frost. And you know, that just helps us get more mana back along with our light attacks. We're trying to get mana back in this build. If we can avoid the entomb, well, then that's what we should try to do. Okay. Next up, Heavy Freeze. Heavy attack will freeze a target if hit in Ice Storm or with Frostbite on for 1 second. Okay, so getting that freeze, that's a good hard route. It can't do anything. It's a stun, basically. Yeah, those heavy attacks are really nice. Plan those strategically. Use them against players if you can. That would be really good. And that's just a very strong passive. Then, of course, our ultimate chill. We already talked about this a little bit, but basically this is increasing our damage by 35% for 3 seconds against chill targets. Nice. All right, and then we have one last passive to speak about, and that is increased speed by 10% in a frosted area. We needed to take something up here. We can't just start with nothing, and we weren't going to take the ice pylon. The only other option would have been blocking stamina, which, since we're not tanking, we don't need to convert our mana to stamina on hit. And if anything, that's burning our mana, which defeats the purpose of the build. So we're not going to be really running through many frosted areas. The most you'll be running through a frosted area will probably be through an ice shower area, which is certainly helpful for getting off those incinerates. But you will need to make sure to have the ice gauntlet out when you run through it to get that passive, okay? And in short, there we go. That is our Archmage build. This thing is designed for light armor. Max your intelligence as most as you can, but remember our basic rule in class building, you need at least 50 constitution to get your 20% increase in consumable healing. That is very good for PvP. That is very good for PvE. You are ultimately responsible for your own survival, even if you have a healer. Make sure you have 50 con so you get that increased consumable healing. It's 20%. It's chunky. It's very helpful. Get it. Otherwise, guys, you're going to focus on intelligence significantly more so than on con than you would other builds. You're really trying to get a lot of damage out of this one. At the end of the day, though, anything that helps your burns hit harder, last longer, and do more damage, you want that. Alright guys, that's the Archmage. I hope you liked the build. Be sure to leave your feedback or any suggestions or fine-tunes below. I'd love to hear from you. Also, be sure to come check out the stream over at twitch.tv/DM21BDubs. Again, that's twitch.tv/DM21BDubs. We'll be playing New World at launch, and we'll also be continuing our build discussions. I'd love to see your builds. Come on by for a build review. Let's take a look and see what you got going on. Thanks again for dropping by. And again, a special thank you to my wife, Tanantha, for this concept. Until next time, guys, stay safe out there. Keep the faith and game on. See you next time. Have a good one.